Hi, YouTube. I am back with another recap of Young, Famous, and African. So, hi, if you're new here, my name is Ava Lamore Ra. Well, that's my moniker. That's what I go by. And I am watching the first season of Young, Famous, and African and recapping the seasons. And so we are now on episode 4. So I am going to get into the recap and go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're halfway through the season now. There's 3 more episodes to go. This is episode 4. And I did make a note that this particular episode was notably shorter. It was 31 minutes. So that was kind of interesting because the last 3 episodes, I believe, were at least like 45 minutes. So I was just like, what happened here? Maybe they just didn't get enough footage. But nonetheless, we open the episode with Annie. She is fresh off her re-proposal by her husband, Innocent, and she's meeting up with Swanky in his hotel because, Annie and Swanky are from Nigeria. They are in South Africa filming this show, and so Swanky's in his hotel, so Annie's going to meet him and tell him what happened. And she comes into his room and she is wearing a Canadian suit. I think that's what it's called. It's like she's wearing like a denim jacket with denim jeans, like matching denim jeans, like kind of matching denim. And it is cute. Like her outfit was really cute. She had on like these purple wedge, like slides. But it wasn't like a full wedge. It was like a chunky heel, just really cute. She looked adorable. And she has she had like a blue tint to her hair. She has like a short, like a low cut hairstyle, and it had like a blue tint to it. So she just looked cute and happy. And so anyway, she is, super excited. She's got her new ring on that Two-Face gave her. And so she's like flashing it. And Swanky's like, what's going on? And she tells him that, Innocent re-proposed. And so I'm not going to lie. Like in the confessional, Swanky is relaying how, he is happy for Annie, but he's cautiously happy because while he acknowledges Annie's happiness and her excitement and he's happy for her as her best friend, he also mentions that it's been a lot as a friend watching from the sidelines. And I think that, as friends, sometimes I think that there is not enough acknowledgement of the emotional labor and the toll that it takes on you when you do care about your friends to watch them go through things in their relationship, because it's like, I don't know, it's kind of tough. So I really did feel for him in that moment because it's kind of tough you want to be happy for your friend, but then it's like you're cautiously happy and there's like no neat way to go about it because so much of being a friend is being there to support your friend in all of the different facets of their life, from like, their job to their relationship to if they're a parent to if they're being a caretaker, So, but then there is a toll sometimes that takes when decisions that you don't really necessarily support get made. So, yeah, but Annie's excited and he's excited for her and, he's like, oh my God, like we're planning a wedding. And he does say something that I felt was encouraging because, and I feel like real, because he was saying to her, like this is basically like you're at your 10-year mark. And so this is the start of a new decade of new patterns of like new. It's a renewal, And so I felt like that was a good way to kind of approach like the attitude going into Annie's vow renewal, aside from just the excitement, So now, next scene, we now see Kanye, Zari, Naked, Kaylee, Andile, and they're all showing up to a rooftop party. And this party has been organized by Swanky. He's invited them. And so, when they all get up there, right off the bat, when Andile steps up, when he gets to the party, Zari receives him. And, with Andile being the suave, dapper, handsome man that I have commented about before, he shows up in his well-tailored suit with his gentleman charm. And, Zari's got she's definitely got sexy, flirty energy, And so she's just hi, handsome. She's very much so the hi, beautiful, hi, handsome, hi, gorgeous. That's her energy. And so I definitely feel I could see how she could get in trouble. Basically, I could see how Zari could get herself in trouble. Because she's just I don't feel like she's flirty within she's flirty. I don't know what the word is to describe her energy. She's just very I don't know. Is it confident? What is it? But anyway, so she says, hi, handsome. She's smiling at Andile. And if you remember, Andile had seen an angel descend from heaven in episode 2 at the Arabian Nights party. So when, Zari is calling him handsome, he is who, me? He is really yucking it up. And so he picks up on the flirting and he mentions it to Naked. And he's just yo, Zari was flirting with me, right? And now let me tell you something. Naked was just nah, no, let's not go there. Don't flirt with Zari, Diamond's our boy. And it's just now we have heard Naked comment about how the only issue that he had, the only issue that Diamond had, I believe he said this in the first or second episode, was getting caught cheating. I believe so. And then he had a problem with Diamond having both his women in the same place. Not the two-timing of it all, but the fact that they were both in the same place. That's the messiness. So I was just excuse me, you have a problem with Andile wanting to flirt with Zari because it's against the bro code. And I'm not stupid. I know it is against the bro code. But then you have this same Diamond in every episode since the third episode, he has effectively told the men that Zari is a beautiful person. She's a nice person, in his own words, that everybody knows she's great. He knows she's great, but that he will never treat her right. Now, it's not so much about this is not a comment about whether or not Andile has the right to flirt with with Zari, but it's more so just I feel like Nikki is being a little hypocritical, to be honest. So I was just all right. Anyways, so we find out what the purpose of the celebration is, because Annie and Tu Baba eventually walk out. And so it's a celebration of their good news that they want to share with the crew. And so, as they're kind of panning around, you see that Zari and Andile are seated pretty close together. So I was just okay. So anyways, now, I am not trying to pick on them, but every single time Annie and Tu Baba are on my screen, the way that I can't even control my head shaking, my face, I'm just be rubbing my face because I just get instantly stressed because they come in, everybody is excited to see them. And so, because now they know what the purpose of the party is, and everyone is standing with their glasses raised to toast the couple, aka Annie and Two-Face. And Two-Face is seated while Annie makes the announcement to the group. So I just feel he didn't kneel to propose to her during the last episode. And during the actual announcement of their vow renewal and the fact that they are re-engaged and they are about to have another wedding, he is seated. And I was just oh my God. Okay. All right. Okay. And like once everybody cheers, then he stands up. And I don't know if I'm just being like nitpicky. I mean, I'm sure I am, because it's just like, we get it, girl. Like, Tu Baba and Annie stress you out. But I also just feel like, okay. So now that they've done this toast and everybody is cheered for them and is excited, we kind of see like the camera pan around to everybody's faces, but notably on Kanye's. And Kanye seemed like, she is smiling. Don't get me wrong, she is smiling, but she has kind of like what I would describe as like a quizzical look. And you find out in her confessional that she is just not buying it. She is not buying this happiness. She is not sold on this vow renewal reproposal. And yeah, I just feel like Annie must have picked up or sensed Kanye's oppositional energy, basically, because as she is describing the lead up to the proposal, so all like the whole day, getting to the hotel, the beautiful setups, the romantic dinner, she's directing her comments to Kanye. And I didn't really know what to make of that, because first of all, I just found it interesting that even though Kanye was smiling, she could pick up on that energy because she was directing her comments to Kanye. But at the same time, I don't know. It just was like, where is this like approval seeking coming from where Kanye is involved? So anyway, Annie is just talking about like all the sweet things he said to her, but she's directing at Kanye specifically, even though she's talking to the whole group. And despite her expressing her happiness with Two-Face, like literally in the same breath, she follows it up with how careless he is with her, how careless he is with things, and how he has been too careless with her, and that he should have lost her by now. And I'm just like, can you please stop abusing us with this relationship, please? I'm stressed. It's just, it's just awkward. So, Innocent is leaving, and he literally uses the phrase that he's sorry he has to love them and leave them, like as in the group, because he has to go and work. And before he departs, Andile mentions wanting to have a word with him, and then Zari like butts in, and she's like, "Wait, me first." So she now proceeds to okay. Andile is seated like here, Zari's here, Annie's here, Two-Face is there, so they're like seated in a line. And so when Two-Face gets up, Andile gets up to kind of like grab him, and then Zari's like, "Wait, me first." And then she gets up, and then she now pulls Two-Face aside by the hand. Now, she does quickly drop his hand, and like in the midst of this happening, like her saying she wants to talk to Two-Face, Annie says out loud, "Oh, you want to speak to him? Okay." And I was just like, this is like a little messy to me, because I just feel like, and we can discuss this in the comments, because I would love to know what other perspectives are. I don't know if it's just me being insecure. I don't know, because y'all know I am a Zari stan, and Zari has been married before, so I don't even think that's what it's about. But I just felt like, you want to pull, like if I was Annie, you want to pull my husband aside to talk to him one-on-one for what? Like, what? Like, Zari, don't piss me off. Don't piss me off. Like, and then you want to hold him by the hand. Hey, are you okay? Please don't upset me. That's how I felt in that moment for Annie. And like, I love Zari, but I'll tell you the more of my thoughts about what that was, because I do not think that that was about anything but Zari being a dominant personality. So anyways, Zari and Two-Face, they step off to the side. Now they are in full view of the entire group when they are talking. So they're like, there's like a bar stool table, there's 2 bar chairs, and they are at these, like, they're opposite sides of each other. And so, and as they're walking away, Annie jokes that Two-Face should walk in front of Zari and not behind, because Zari has a big behind. And I'm just like, this is too much. Like, I could not imagine being in this group and any of this happening, because I feel like now, that's why it's a reality TV show. That's why it's entertainment, right? But I just feel like between the comments from Annie to Zari wanting to grab my man to step aside to talk to him, to the wife making comments about don't be looking, like, it's too much. Okay? So anyways, Zari brings up the issue of Annie not being pleased about Zari potentially knowing Innocent, Tubaba, on a personal level, and to which Innocent proceeds to respond with, do you want to F with Annie's head? Excuse me? What kind of response is that? I was very speechless in that moment, because Zari basically explains to Two-Face that when he called on FaceTime and he expressed wanting to not only speak to her on FaceTime, but also texting his wife that he wanted to speak to Zari, the boss lady, that made Annie question what their relationship is. And then he's just like, oh, you want to mess with her head? And she's just like, no, if I wanted to mess with her head, then I would tell her we slept together, but we didn't. So, and I just was like, the two of y'all are kind of making me annoyed. Okay, y'all are annoying me. Like, but okay. And so now, then Zari summons Annie over, and that's exactly what she did, because she said, Annie, come here. What do you mean come here? Excuse me? I mean, you already pulled my husband aside and now you are summoning me. Zari, I love you, but like, girl. So, anyways, and I just feel like that whole situation just could have been handled with some more care. Just the whole thing. We're not even talking about like Annie actually even getting there, and now it's Annie, Zari, and Innocent. But I mean, just the whole setup. Like, I feel like it would have been more respectful for Zari to ask Annie and Innocent to step aside so she could talk to the both of them, as opposed to just pulling the husband aside and then to now summon me. Like, excuse me? Huh. So, anyways, then Zari, like, you know, says it. So now Annie's standing there and she's just like, so, you know, you had an issue with the fact that you think that, you know, me and your husband had something, but we didn't have anything. And Annie's just kind of taken aback because she's just like, what? And she's like, no, I didn't. And Zari's just like, yeah, you did. You were insecure about me knowing your husband. And I just was just like, and, you know, Annie was not pleased about this. In her confessional, she felt totally disrespected about being called out, about how she was acting in front of her husband, and, you know, and being called insecure. And then, you know, they kind of just like, it just kind of gets, the conversation pretty much gets deaded, and it's just like, look, I knew your husband, but there was never anything between us. That's what Zari is saying to Annie in front of Innocent. And Annie's just like, I didn't even care, so why you bring this up to me, especially in front of my man? You're doing too much. And Innocent in his confessional is basically just like, I don't even know what this was. And I'm like, sir, you the reason this even happening right now. You the reason this is happening, because you were so giddy to talk to Zari in the first place, the boss lady, that you had to be pressed. And now you got these two women fighting amongst themselves when you're the issue. I mean, let's just keep it a buck. That's what happened. So, and then, as they're walking away, like to go back to the rest of the group, they're like, Annie's making comments about how like Zari's not even, she's like, Zari, you're not even his type. He likes dark-skinned girls with like little booties or whatever. And like, it just was too much. It's like, okay, Annie. All right, girl. So, because Zari had said like, he's going to be behind me, Annie, so, it's not my fault. Like, basically, like, if he's looking at me, it's not my fault. I have to walk ahead. And then that's when Annie said that. And I was just like, this is going too far. It's going too far. I don't even know who started it at this point, because I just know that it's gone too far in all parties. But, all right. So now Two-Face and Annie have to leave because he has to work, so the party's still going. And so Andile and Zari are still in their same spot on the couch, and, they're looking cozy. And so Kanye and Naked now, they step off to the side to talk about their fight from the other day. Kind of skipped over this part of the conversation because I'm sorry, it just wasn't very interesting to me. And so now Zari and Andile step off to the side to chat, because as they are sitting there with the entire group and the rest of the remaining members of the group being Swanky, Kaylee, Naked, Kanye, Andile, and Zari, because Two-Face and Annie have left. And I didn't even realize that Nadia wasn't there, but yeah, Nadia is in Mexico celebrating her birthday with her boyfriend. And so Andile and Zari were kind of too close for comfort for the rest of the group. And, it was making everybody feel uncomfortable. So they stepped off to the side to like just talk amongst themselves. And now we have Naked talking. No, yeah, they stepped off to the side to chat. But once, I think Zari must have gone back to the rest of the group, because now we're looking at Andile, Kanye, and Naked sitting at a table, and Naked is commenting about like having respect and respecting each other, and Kanye's agreeing that it's the bro code and stuff. But I was just like, I mean, look, this is not shade to Naked, but I have not liked some of the comments he has made. So yeah. So as they are sitting there, we find out that Kaylee doesn't live with Naked, because now we have a scene at this same party where Swanky and Naked have gone to talk amongst themselves. And now granted, like I talked about all of the side conversations that was happening, and so like there was one that was actually happening between Kaylee and Swanky a little bit. Oh goodness, my coffee. And so, Kaylee was just talking about the issues that her and Naked are having. And so when Swanky and Naked go off to the side to go have their one-on-one, Swanky just straight up says, like, the problem is you. And Naked's like, how is it me? And so he's just basically talking about how he just feels like he needs space. And that is when we find out, or I find out, that I misunderstood that whole situation from the very first episode when we met Kaylee and Naked, because Andile had said that he was going to visit Kaylee and Naked at their home. So I just assumed they lived together, but they don't live together. Kaylee does not live with Naked. And apparently that is the problem. And he says that Kaylee is just there. And that she leaves for 2 to 3 days at a time, but he's a single dad and, you know, he needs time to be a dad. He needs time to be himself. So he's just feeling suffocated by Kaylee being there, which is just shocking because that was not the impression that I got from their first episode. But no, she does not live with Naked. And Naked said that he has not asked her to move in. So I was like, oh, yikes. Okay. I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, I do understand what he's saying. Like, he's saying that maybe he would want to be more romantic if he has some space from Kaylee. And I do understand that, but I don't really know what to make of that because I kind of feel like long term, if this relationship is headed to a long term point, then I mean, if you live with her, you'll see her every day. So how will that work? But I don't know. So now we have another scene where Kanye invites Annie to lunch to talk about the engagement and whether or not she's truly happy. And so, you know, I see where Kanye is. Like, Kanye likes to read people and situations and really check in with people. And I will say, I appreciate that role this role that Kanye plays in the series, but I would like to see a little bit more of her personal life because I do see a lot of her trying to pull things out of other people and to check in with them and kind of be like and have like basically check the temperature of everyone else to make sure everyone else is comfortable, which is like, that is a role that needs to be played. She clearly is very perceptive, but it makes me wonder like how much of that is because we are not attending to what's going on in your life, right? So anyways, she, you know, Annie is just basically saying that Innocent is a good man and she's just defending him, you know, and I understand that. And so Kanye just shares that her observation is that Annie puts herself aside for love and those that she loves. And, you know, that scene wraps with Kanye in her confessional saying that she feels like she wants to talk to Baba. And I don't really know how to feel about that because yet again, this group is interesting in terms of like how they relate with each other. Like, I don't personally have this many male friends and like a friend group like this, so I can't necessarily relate to this kind of dynamic. So it's just interesting. So that's why I'm gonna try and reserve my judgment as much as possible because I don't have a point of reference. Like, most of my friends, almost all, are women, so I don't know. So anyways, next scene, this episode is coming to a close. So Andile is having a party. So I was saying that I did want to see a little bit more of Andile, Kanye and Swanky's story. So Andile's having a party. He's invited both the mothers of his kids. So now we're getting into Andile, Mr. Suave, Mr. Dapper, aka he might be an unassuming player. And this is a cute all-white event. It's very classy. It's an outdoor event. Everybody's dressed in their all white. And so, you know, the mothers of his children are there. Kanye's there. Zari's there. Almost everybody is there except for who is not there? Nadia. And I don't know if Swanky was at this event. But nonetheless, Zari shows up, so she's walking in, and now we get introduced to we don't get introduced, but we find out who the first mother of his child is and who the second mother of his child is, and we find out that the second mother of his child is a lady that he has a child with that is one of the most recent children with, and that child is 6 months old at best. And so the girls, Kaylee, Kanye, Zari, and Annie was there. They're talking about how this is kind of messy. Like, they're just really surprised that both the mothers of the children are there. And Zari, who he's been flirting with, is there as well. And now we see, a cut of Andile and Zari. They're off talking to the side. And Andile is really laying it on thick with Zari, like, at his party. He is, like, asking her for a hug. He's embracing her. He is just feeling the boss lady, okay? And then he straight up asks her if he can take her out, and she tells him that she just doesn't see anything there. That yes, they have like some cute little chemistry, but there's nothing there. And I don't know what to make of that. So it didn't really go anywhere, but I mean, he did ask. And so now we have Zari pulls Kanye aside at this same event to talk about how Annie is kind of up and down. Like, she'll be happy one minute, she's crying the next minute. And then Zari mentions, because they're talking about the vow renewal announcement party, and she mentions the careless comment Annie made, and Kanye mentions how Annie is your typical African woman holding on to a marriage no matter what, which was pretty harsh, but and Kanye says what I kind of observed during that side convo of Annie, Tubaba, and Zari. And for me, I feel like what Zari did was her asserting her dominance. And I don't like it because I just feel like Annie is kind of an easy target, which is really something, because Annie is a force on her own, for sure. But I also feel like she is kind of an easy target, just given the fact that we know so much of what she's going through in her relationship and the toll that it's taken on her. So I just feel like Zari, leave her alone, basically. But anyways, Kanye said there's a power struggle between Zari and Annie, because like they're these two big personalities. And I agree, but the only thing is I'm not 100% sure of why, because I think it's more, there's something else behind why Annie and Zari have this tension, and I don't know what it is, because I can't really figure it out. Because I'm not going to say that it started merely from the phone call, but I mean, I think that's a part of it. So, and that might be a big part of it, like the two-face kind of triangulating, like Zari and Annie. But I think there's something else there, but I can't really put my finger on it. But anyway, Zari decides she wants to take Annie out on a one-on-one and talk to her. And Kanye just kind of warns her in her confessional to be careful, because she said, like, okay, Zari, if that's what you want to do, you want to talk to her one-on-one about her marriage, like, she might bite you. Okay. And I mean, I think that was a sound assessment of the situation, given that I felt like she did disrespect her by that whole pulling her husband aside. So anyways, we now see a cut. The same party. This is still at Andile's party. And we see Kaylee and Annie talking off to the side about the Annie innocent Zari exchange, about how she knows him. And Kaylee asked if Zari pulling innocent aside was an issue, and Annie says no, that wasn't the problem. The problem was her mentioning the comments Annie made about how Zari knew innocent, and I think it was both, honestly. I think that she was irritated about how she pulled her husband aside, because she did make that comment like, oh, you want to talk to my husband? Okay. Because I kind of felt like that was kind of like I'm giving you permission, girl. And like, no, obviously he's a grown man. We get that. But I don't know. I got exactly how Annie was feeling in that moment. And Zari did say that Annie was being insecure in front of her husband, which was quite rude in my opinion. And so Annie continues to comment that she's not worried, because though Zari is pretty, she's not Innocent's type, which is, and I was just like, why are we even mentioning whether or not Zari is Innocent's type? Like, he's a married man. So, well, I guess she's talking about prior to, I don't know, just was strange. But Annie said that she told Zari to her face right there, "You're not his type." And Zari made the insecure comments. And so Annie, too, in her conversation with Kaylee, wants to have a one-on-one with Zari. So great. They're both on the same page. They both want to confront each other, turns out. So now we get to the final scene of the episode, and Annie has invited Zari over for a drink, and there is already tension because they sit down, and Annie is basically just like, "I'm so glad that you accepted my invite and you showed up. Like, basically, I'm glad you came because you needed to get read." And Annie basically just lays it all out there and gets straight to the point. She tells her that she felt it was disrespectful for Zari to not only accuse Annie of being insecure, but also accuse her of being a liar in front of her husband and saying, "Stop, you were insecure," which I agree with. Like, that was not right. Like, don't do too much, okay? Because if I said, "No, I wasn't insecure," then you don't need to follow, "Girl, you're lying. You were insecure." Like, girl, are you okay? Relax. You don't got to do all that in front of my husband, okay? And so Zari is irritated. She is irritated. So I'm just waiting to see what she has to say, because she's just like, "Are you done? Are you finished? Like, am I going to be able to answer?" And so she gets to turn the fire back, and she does honestly what I do all the time, because Zari says, "Let me take you back to the beginning, Annie." And honestly, I'm very similar. When someone tries to check me about something, I cannot stand when people pick a problem up from me. Like, if somebody has a problem for me and they pick it up from where we are right now, and they don't acknowledge like how it started, where and how it actually started, it is very frustrating for me. And so she reminds Annie, she was just like, "Annie, your husband called you. He then insisted to speak to me and then texted you to speak to me. And you had an issue with the fact that he wanted to speak to me on FaceTime at the party. And then when we went to the high tea, you brought it up again like 2-3 times, asking how I know your husband." So Zari was basically saying, like, in terms of this whole situation, you started it. And I can see her frustration. I do understand why Zari wanted to do that, but honestly and truthfully speaking, the conversation went left, okay? Because Annie was just like, basically, "Girl, don't try me, okay? Don't try me in front of my husband. This ain't no baby daddy situation. This is my husband, girl, okay? This is an institution." It was giving very much like, "This is an institution, girl, okay? I ain't no baby mama." And that's interesting framing, but whatever. And she basically stands up and she's just like, "Bobby." And that is how it ends. Zari tells her she is an insecure bee and that she is a billionaire and she doesn't need a man for money like her. And the episode ends there. So that didn't go well. And I'm very curious to see how the rest of the season plays out now that Zari and Annie are firmly on opposite sides of the fence, and how people are going to take sides, who's going to take sides, because this is one serious beef. And we already know that Nadia is not feeling Zari, and she's just not in the episode because she's celebrating her birthday. So when she comes back, I feel like she's either coming back in this next episode 5 or 6, and she finds out, like, the beef that has started and erupted and exploded between Annie and Zari. I have no doubt that she's going to take Annie's side, but we shall see. So I will see y'all in the next one, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I will be back again. Bye.